God said to Abraham, kill me a son. Abe says, where do you want this killing done? And God says, out on Highway 61.
The Hunted began for me with having met Tom Brown, this tracker, about maybe 20 years ago. For many years, he's trained the Special Forces in survival techniques, evasion techniques, and in how to kill.
Heart, leg, power.
He's kind of a real-life Sherlock Holmes. He can detect footprints or indentations, less than footprints, and he can tell you what kind of shoe that person was wearing, what their emotional state of mind was when they were either standing or sitting, and he can come into a virtual empty room and profile that room in the same way that an Indian tracker can go into the forest and follow an animal or a person. I always felt that Brown's story was unusual because here was a guy that was very skilled at devising weapons and using them, but he'd never had to use them himself. And so we came up with a story that involves a character like him, played by Tommy Lee Jones, who trains a young special op, played by Benicio del Toro. This special op goes into a combat situation in Kosovo in 1999. And he sees so much killing and savagery that he loses it and is unable to think of people except as targets of opportunity. He becomes a fugitive, and the only guy who can bring him in is the guy who trained him.
The character of Tommy Lee Jones and Benicio del Toro have my skills. They're expert trackers, they're expert survivalists, they're great at escape, evasion, camouflage, using the skills of the ancient Native Americans.
It is said of L.T. Bonham that he's the best tracker in the world and can track ants across concrete and mice across a lawn. And I was instructed to believe that.
I'm still not seeing it. Tom.
No, wait.
I did learn a few things about tracking animals and people in the forest where they actually leave tracks.
There comes a point when an actor who is as intelligent as Tommy Lee Jones is going to make that role his own. And in making that role his own, he absorbed some of the elements of Tom Brown, as opposed to, I would say, borrow. Tommy Lee basically took these things into the character that he was building.
I'm a big fan of Tommy Lee Jones. I've worked with him twice. He's the most intelligent actor I've ever worked with. He has innate instincts that he brings to whatever he does. By the time he gets to the set, he knows what the drill is, and he does it.
He's one of the best actors out there, you know. He just has that gift. And whatever he says, it's just like charges it with truth.
For the job. Thanks. He's one of yours, isn't he? Yeah. That's what I thought. He's our man? Yeah. Any idea why? No. That'd be your job.
Benicio, who I think is equally as impressive on screen, comes from a slightly different approach. He will interact with these people, he'll do a lot of reading about them, and he'll try to absorb everything he can about the character he's playing.
What is it you want to tell Mr. Bonham you don't want to tell me?
I'd like to talk to him about Operation Black Eagle, Mongoose, Cobra.
Shut up. You want to get yourself killed?
You do remember me, sir.
You were talking about shit that never happened. They're recording this, bud.
Good, then there'll be a record.
And that record will never say what you want it to say, will it?
Then what am I doing here, people?
We brought the character from black to gray, in a way. We just sat down and talked about how it was important that the character was not just a one-dimensional bad guy. And there were a couple scenes already in the script that allowed it to be, you know, you see that he's with this little girl and he's very gentle with the little girl. So, you know, we just went in that direction.
What track is that?
A squirrel.
That's right. See? Every 9 inches. That's the gallop pattern.
Oh, yeah.
Benny's a very fine young actor and a good pal and excellent company. It's a real pleasure to work with the best people, and he's certainly one of them.
I'm very interested in the details of how things work. And so I constantly try to get people who know how these things work involved with the making of these films. They can impart these very special skills to the actors. It gives the actors a lot of confidence to know that what they're doing is being validated by the guys they're playing.
I was so fortunate that that Billy Friedkin had some contacts with the FBI, and they've been an immense help to us. They've been here donating their time because they're not allowed to be paid for their effort here on this movie.
You ever use that thing?
You mean, did I ever shoot anyone?
Yeah.
Would you ask a guy the same question?
Yeah.
Well, as a matter of fact, I have.
They're two opposing kinds of law enforcement people, really. There's a lot of respect. And also curiosity, you know, he does play some weird kind of guy who comes in from some woods out somewhere, you know, and into a very urban environment.
What's your relationship to Hallam?
I trained him. He's unusual. He can kill anybody without regret.
Hallam has become emotionally dependent on the guy who gave him all of these survival skills.
Bonham, in teaching Hallam, gives Hallam a big piece of his identity.
Once you are able to kill mentally, the physical part will be easy. The difficult part is learning how to turn it off.
I don't think I can do this anymore. The nightmares are getting worse. I think I'm losing it, Elsie. I need to talk to you.
Hallam's tried to reach out to him, and the Bonham character has rejected all of these overtures because he, too, has had a crisis of guilt which has caused him to stop doing that, stop training people how to kill. There are a series of letters that Hallam has sent to Bonham which represent his cry for help. When he saw himself going over the edge, the only one he could turn to was the man who taught him all these skills that have brought him to his present position of being riddled with guilt and unable to determine right from wrong. All of the letters that he sent went unanswered, but the revelation at the end of the film is that Bonham kept them all and read them all. He just didn't have an answer. The father is unable to offer any help because he's too wounded himself. It seems to me that a lot of action thrillers are too long and too long-winded. The more you make them, the more you realize that you don't need to stretch this stuff out. It's not Hamlet. It should be as lean and mean as possible.
It's important to go fast on a movie set because it is a waste of time and money to try to decide what you're going to do while the camera's rolling. Ideally, you'd be able to print the first take every time. There's not only an economy, but an energy in that kind of organization.
Fortunately, we hired professionals for this shot.
Caleb Deschanel is a world-class cinematographer. It was an honor to work with him, and we had a great collaboration.
All right, so our move is going to be rain down very slowly as he runs off. Okay.
Nice move, Jake.
Thank you.
What I spoke to him about in terms of the style of the film was induced documentary. It had to look as though it was actually happening. I didn't want to see the lighting. I didn't want to see composition. I wanted all of that to flow from the action, not be imposed on the action. So I got Caleb on board with that.
It's been really exciting because I've never done a film that has this kind of excitement and chases the gritty toughness and energy that this has been really fun.
The camera is restless. The camera is never at ease. The camera is never comfortable with its subject because it doesn't know how that subject's going to evolve.
Don't move. Put your hands on your head and get on the floor. Get down!
I love to do a chase scene. I think I've only done about 4 because they're hard to think up. You're constantly trying to do something you haven't done before.
Well, the car chase was very interesting because we kept saying, well, Billy, you know, we had to get from here to here. And so, well, we should have a car chase, Billy. I mean, you're about as famous for car chases as anybody. And he said, I don't know what the gimmick is here. What would make this different?
We all came up with tons of ideas, and Billy goes, you know, we'll do a little bit more of the chase, and we'll have him come around this corner, and he'll come into a gridlock. So then we thought, well, everybody that gets in this gridlock situation, I have, and I'm sure you probably have, all you want to do is just put it in reverse and whack it and whack it. Just start banging people. That was something that wasn't in the original script that, again, Billy will come up with an idea.
I wanted a big action scene at that point in the film, and as with the French Connection or any of the other films I've made, the sequence itself was dictated by the terrain. When I saw the Hawthorne Bridge and realized we could get it on weekends for specified periods of time, I decided to build an entire sequence just around that bridge. That was never really written. It was never storyboarded. I don't storyboard. We tried to pin all the action to what could happen on that bridge, which struck me as a really imposing piece of architecture.
Shutting off the bridge was cold and windy, and we had a lot of extras, and there were scenes where cars were going back and forth and a railroad car going through with FBI people.
Let's see how it looks. Like it relates the way we want.
Billy doesn't want to, you know, use computer-generated things and all that. He wants everything to be reality-based.
There should be in. By the time he crosses them, they're in and they go into action.
Here we go. Stand by. Let's roll them.
On the east side! Take it back on the east side! Keep that car!
I think it comes out of his background as a documentary filmmaker, that he's constantly looking for that freshness. I think he will do anything he can do to cause that, using non-professionals or doing things that actually somewhat frighten the producer, making things seem a little bit more out of control than they really are. There's an energy to that I don't really get from pretty much anybody else I've worked with.
Kosovo. That sequence is almost completely made up of actual accounts of what happened in Pristina in 1999. Okay. Say, Albanians, leave this village now or you will die. We will kill your children and you, and be heard in Serb. We'll record it. This was a savage, vicious war that was only resolved by more and greater warfare.
The Kosovo set is the most amazing set that was created. All of those streets and everything were designed by the production designer Bill Cruz and his people. The look and feel of that, you know, lends so much surreality to the film right from the beginning.
Our effects people went in there and rigged gas lines and fire lines in this 2-3 blocks of buildings and stuff everywhere. So at any given time, they could light the whole 3 blocks on fire if they wanted.
We had children working, and we were trying to be real careful. I mean, like that little girl, you'll notice there's stunt people all around her in a big circle.
You know, there's this little girl, and you assume that her mom and dad are killed right there, and she walks over and he watches her. That's terrible. That was Billy's idea. You know, it's the horror of war.
I would certainly bet there were a couple of hundred civilian extras, and then there were a lot of stuntmen. Not that we actually expected anything to happen. I mean, we were being very secure with the explosion. But I have to say, I breathed easier after we got done with the civilians.
Swing more right.
Let me say action, and she gets shot. The whole deal.
We had all of those people working in the midst of this fire. We had automatic weapons, 50 calibers, tanks going through the street, firing, explosions. We had heavy explosions.
John, take the fire to the sky.
Being on the set, these things were so huge from the heat of the explosion. You could just feel the heat searing your skin.
Billy wanted dead bodies in the street, and I had 90 dummies. The first take burnt 15 dummies down to nothing, and I said, holy mackerel, we got to move these out farther.
Billy likes to do long, moving shots where things are happening for a long period of time, so one of our takes might last a minute and a half.
Slate! That's great. It's dynamite, man.
Let's do it again just for fun,
My name is Tom Brown, and my role in the production is everything from training the actors to setting up, the primitive shots, the tracking, camouflage, wilderness survival, things like that.
Yeah, let's do it again.
Tracking's being able to see things on the landscape that most people pass. It's a matter of developing a skill and understanding what to look for. So it's there for anybody.
Tommy, fake it with your hands, would you?
Yeah, I'll pick it up and I'll untie the little knot for you. And I'll twiddle it a little bit.
Yep.
My job is to get the skills to be authentic. I see so much stuff that's out there, it's supposed to be authentic, that isn't, and I want to make sure that this one is.
Now watch my body. Very, very slow.
You can look ahead.
Yeah. See it?
Yeah.
Just like an inchworm. Rather than sticking everything up like this.
And he can't even get his elbows up. He's got to do that sniper pull.
Okay.
I tried to take the actors through a short course on what I normally teach that is applicable to the movie. And the good thing is Tommy Lee is great in the outdoors already. I didn't have to do much there, fine-tune a little tracking and camouflage and stuff like that. The knives that Tommy Lee uses are made of chert, which is a low-grade flint, and it's our primary survival knife. It's like making a big arrowhead and putting a handle on it. It's very ancient, very primitive, but, it can be made out here.
Just clip the edge. You see how that stone's coming off? You can flip it over every once in a while.
Just tap that.
If you hit it real hard, you'll smack it too. You guys get the feel for that?
On the other hand, Benicio's knife took me 7 years to design. I don't look at it as a knife, I look at it as a machine. I mean, this thing will do everything you need to do in survival. There's a scene where Benicio comes out of the water, and Benicio has to build a fire. So what we do is actually on the set, we will gather plants, in this case a mullein, to make a hand drill and then actually make a real fire on camera, showing that yes, this can be done by a man who's soaking wet, coming out of the water, and everything's right there, like somebody picking a lighter out of their pocket. It's that easy. The same rules in survival, tracking, escape, evasion, camouflage apply to the city. You move out of context, you move in dead space, you'll see the scenes where they're escaping each other in the city, and it's a matter of blending in with your surroundings and disappearing. Disappearing in the wide open, if you will. Good example. If there's somebody searching for you, they start looking for you at your height in a crowd of people. All you have to do is duck down 4 inches and they'll look right over your head. They get fixed on that height and that's what they look at. So we just bend them down a little bit, disappears right into the crowd. Even the audience that's viewing this will see that and fix on that height. You hear the old saying, survival of the fittest. That's very true, except when it comes to humans. For humans, fitness also means knowledge. The more knowledge you have, the easier it is back here in the bush.
We found this dam in Port Angeles, Washington. It's called the Elwha Dam. When I first looked at the waterfall it can create and the fact that that can be created in approximately 1 minute from a little trickle, as you see, to a gigantic waterfall, I get inspired. I mean, originally in the script, he was not going to fall off a cliff and dangle over a waterfall. It was a completely different ending, so I'll look at a location and it will very often inspire what we're going to shoot and what will happen in the script.
The Elwha Dam was tough. It was by far the most demanding location we had.
It was, I think it was January or February, and we were like in this huge ravine. And it was really cold and wet. Just to get down there was like grueling. And to get back up, forget it.
When we saw it, everybody just went, whoa, this is the place. We had to build scaffoldings down the side of this dam just to get cameras, people, makeup people, actors, everybody up and down.
There were crew people that were right on the edge of these drops. I mean, you're constantly going over, says, are you tied down, you know? I mean, do you have a safety wire? I mean, you grab hold of the rope there. But we got through it. Nobody ever got hurt.
The job at hand was to create the illusion of danger without experiencing the real thing. That's what we really work at. It was a little treacherous. We improved the footing with more secure footing that looked like slippery rocks more than they actually were.
We made it rubberized. We rubberized all the rocks. In fact, the whole set was rubberized, so if they fell, it wouldn't be hit in the head.
It was cold and wet for everybody. Maybe a little colder and wetter for those of us who spent a lot of time in the water.
The fight sequences are very realistic and nothing too over the top. Everything is quite believable.
Although they're not long, they're undoubtedly longer than an actual fight would take place, other than by two of the most skilled combatants imaginable.
Under this discipline, a fight with a knife is designed usually to last 5 or 10 seconds at the most. By then, someone is pretty well chopped up and unable to go on.
We had the two foremost experts in Kali knife fighting as technical advisors on the film who came aboard through Tom Brown. These two guys, Raphael Kianan and Tom Kyer, also trained the Delta Force, SEAL Team 6, the Special Forces.
One more time, we're gonna do this until I get tired. Go. Arm, throat, heart, leg, leg, arm, lung.
Kyer was very useful in teaching me to impersonate these combat moves. The discipline in which he's rather thoroughly schooled is called Sayak Kali. It's from Malaysia. It's very old. I did learn actually a good deal more than I want to know about fighting with knives. But it was fun to come to an understanding of those techniques.
I think it's been touched on by other films, but this film does a really close, detailed study of the movements and the angles of the fighting.
The actors, they didn't just want to fight just for the sake of a fight. The fight had to have meaning.
Remember me? No. You taught me. I taught a lot of people.
TL's character was the older guy. His movements were a little bit different. And Benicio was the aggressive young guy.
How come you didn't answer my letters?
They wanted to tell a story with the actual fighting with the blade. Not just going back and forth like some competition.
One more time. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 5 count templates?
Yeah,
Vital
but
template,
we need
yeah.
to see.
5 count vital
TL showed it to
templates.
us.
Okay.
We usually work with some kind of aluminum trainers. You can use it without injuring your training partner. These are stiff so that if I take his hand and if I want to do a disarm, I can do it without the blade bending and I can take it out. If it's a rubber blade, it just bends over, it doesn't work right, it flaps around.
You need a new knife, man.
You need to have a stiff blade for that.
Quiet, guys, from the top.
So we go through it slow. If I come in here with this attack, he would have a way of blocking this arm at the same time hitting a lethal target on me and puncturing. And no matter what attack I come in with, he's going to have a way to finish me. So he's going to have to do both. He's going to have to deal with my attack, at the same time be aggressive. A knife fight between two skilled fighters is a nasty thing where one guy goes to the cemetery and one guy goes to the hospital.
Cut! Do one more.
The stunt guys, they think about every contingency, what can happen. They're unbelievably skilled and professional in the way that they do things. You really have to get someone who's knowledgeable about how it goes on the screen. And that's when Buddy Joe came in and gave us an education.
We had choreographed the fight and everything, but Billy would come in and tell us exactly what he saw and his feelings about it, and then we would re-choreograph it to Billy's needs. He's a guy that really knows action.
It's close quarter, and there's no slow motion. It's super fast and extremely lethal. It's the exact opposite of all the things that you're seeing now in martial arts films and in the films based on the techniques of Chinese opera. I was fascinated by that. They get wounded, they take blood, but they know how to continue until the penultimate moment occurs. And it almost always occurs in this style of fighting. One person kills another. I'll bet you that everything there can be, let's see how it looks. Can be placed the way we want. I can pull extras. And extras running out.
That's right.
Right, so that you don't need much movement that way. Up here, you need guys coming up. Yeah. So we see that finish off and see people getting pulled off. We got 3 cars.
Everybody back! Quickly, calmly! East side! Take it back on the east side! Stop! Stop! Open the doors! Go! Go! Open the doors! Get down! Get down! Open the door! Get down, everybody! Get down! Open the door!
Joe?
Yeah.
Whip around more.
Okay.
Don't stay too long. Get a sense of this and a sense. That's good. Once you got a sense of it, get off.
Okay.
But that was good.
And action.
Cut.
And marks. Cutting. Shh. And action.
Wait.
Cut, cut.
Cut. Yeah.
Hey, yeah, if you could be closer to that edge when you stand up, you'll be in the light the whole time.
Closer to the edge.
Yeah, closer to the front edge that you jump off.
Well, Bill said, when I stand up,
Right.
I'm meant to look this way.
Right, that's okay.
So I'm going to stand up. Now I'm going to walk to the edge, then look this way, then look back and then go?
No, let's just simplify it. He gets up, you can be there.
Yeah.
Stand. Yeah. Look this way as you did. You did a little flip. You
Mhm.
turned around, put the knife behind you, and walked over there and jumped out.
And action.
Ready. Arm. Heart. Leg. Lung. Recover. Ready. Arm. Heart. Leg. Lung.
Never set. Set on 8. And action.
Okay, killers on your feet. Dress left. Sentry removal. Coming in from 5 o'clock on the man's right. Is that the reverse grip or the straight grip?
You want to go forward, the forward grip one or the reverse?
Doesn't matter. Whatever one you can do. We only do one of them.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, then you want to
No.
reverse it so everybody...
Oh, yeah. Then you're going to turn him around.
Okay.
And show
So everybody can see it.
Yeah. I got to see the whole thing here, but low.
I will teach you how to kill quickly, accurately, efficiently. It will become a reflex action. You will learn how to enter a combat zone and evaporate into shadow. You will learn how to survive, or you will not. Once you are able to kill mentally, the physical part will be easy. The difficult part
Tus trailers.
is learning
Visita
how to
mi
turn it off.
Tail stick.
Tail on A.
North. Stick standing by. Wait. Set.
I will teach you how to kill quickly, accurately, efficiently. It will become a reflex action. You will learn how to enter a combat zone and evaporate into shadow. You will learn how to survive, or you will not. Once you are able to kill mentally, the physical part will be easy. The difficult part is learning how to turn it off. You to kill quickly, accurately, efficiently. It will become a reflex action. You will learn to enter combat zones and evaporate into shadow. You will learn how to survive, or you will not.